because joining us here in the studio right now is the Shadow Energy Minister, Dan Tehan, for his thoughts on this and more. We will start there, Dan. What do you make of Anthony Albanese writing a letter to his British counterpart, Keir Starmer, basically becoming the first Commonwealth nation to seek Andrew's removal from the royal line of succession?
Well, it seems to be a little bit of a no-brainer because he's been stripped of his titles, so it seems something which will be pretty straightforward. But what I would say is, why doesn't the Prime Minister put his energy into being upfront and honest with the Australian people as to where the ISIS brides are going to go? We now have reports this morning that they could be heading to Victoria. Well, where in Victoria are they going? What discussions has he had with Jacinta Allen about this? We found out that he had previous discussions, or the government had, it would seem, with Chris Minns, the New South Wales Premier. So that's what the Australian people want to know about. Obviously, this is something that the British Labor Party will take care of, as well as all the other parliaments around the world. But the issue here in Australia is, where are these ISIS brides going to go?
Right, so do you think this is a distraction?
Well, it does seem quite odd that all of a sudden the Prime Minister has decided to lead on this issue, which, as I've said, he's been stripped of his title. So it seems a no-brainer, and yet he's been under enormous pressure on where these ISIS brides are going to go. We've seen now that they could be going to Victoria. Where in Victoria? Victorians will want to know, because they want to know the government's going to be keeping them safe.
One more on this, but if other Commonwealth nations follow our lead, then was Anthony Albanese right to get behind it?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. There's no issue with what's going to take place because he's already been stripped of his titles. And, it seems that the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, was already looking at this. So we have no issues with that. But it does seem to be that he's happy to lead on something like this. But why won't he lead on ISIS brides? Why won't he do the hard work there and be upfront and transparent with the Australian people?
So let's get back to Tony Burke, because he said they're not helping with the repatriation. They're not involved other than issuing passports, which they said is they're legally they have to do anyway. Other than that, they won't be releasing information unless it's in the public interest. Now, I would have thought this was in the public interest, but, I mean, there are, as John O'Duniam said last hour, you can't be releasing all of your top secret details. What do you make of that kind of resistance?
Well, I mean, you've had someone like Di Lee come out and she wants to know for her communities, and she's an independent, are they going to go there? I think now that we've heard this news about Victoria, we need to know where in Victoria. Victorians will want to know this, and they'll also want to know, has Tony Burke or Anthony Albanese had discussions with the Allen Labor government about this? I mean, they're saying they're not assisting, but it does seem that they've had discussions. Now, are those discussions helping to facilitate or not? These are all the questions that the Prime Minister needs to answer. And every journalist inquiry, whether it's gone to the Prime Minister or to Tony Burke, is coming back with nothing, with blanks, because they don't want to say what involvement they have or haven't had. And that's the issue that the Australian people want focused on at the moment.
The Victorian Premier, Jacinta Allen, she's got a press conference coming up in about 20 minutes, so I'm sure she'll be asked about that today. The other announcement from the government today, high-speed rail, it's setting its business case out there for us all to have a look at. It says the economy will be helped by some $250 billion over 50 years, so we're way off into the distance. We might get the nuclear subs before the high-speed rail, or maybe we won't. Anyway, do you support this idea to push ahead with high-speed rail?
Well, let's have a look at the business case. Obviously, under Anthony Albanese, we're heading in April, we think, to $1 trillion in debt. That's under his watch, and now we've got this proposal. So we have to look at the business case. The business case obviously has to stack up. So there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before we say whether we do or do not support it. What we need to see is, once again, some transparency from the government. Let's see the business case. As you've said, it's the value proposition seems to be for here to eternity, but let's see the business case first.
I'm a supporter of high-speed rail. I love it when I've used it overseas, and it's nation-building stuff. And, we really should have done it in the 80s, but it was too expensive back then. But do you support the idea? I mean, Matt Canavan he liked the idea of connecting the regions, the regional areas to the cities, taking some of the pressure off the plains. Do you support the idea in general?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've supported it previously. We were very keen to get high-speed rail between Geelong and Melbourne, and that's something that I saw as a game changer for Western Victoria, because that then would have flowed on to Colac and to Warrnambool, right out into the region. So done well and done with a proper business case, it's something that is worth supporting. But once again, what we tend to see under Labor are these big mega projects, especially at the state level, which then blow out. The CFMEU obviously gets involved because they become a bit of a CFMEU racket, and then it all goes pear-shaped. And just have a look at what's happening in Victoria at the moment for the case in point.
Yeah. There'd be a good question around how to power these high-speed trains, would there not? I mean, that brings in your portfolio of energy.
Well, it does, and we've seen a report today that AEMO were hiding the impact that the closure of Eraring here in New South Wales was going to have. So once again, Chris Bowen isn't being transparent with the Australian people. We know electricity prices are going up, and now it seems there's been reports which have been sat on because they didn't want the uncomfortable truth that they need to see a continuation of coal-fired power generation to keep prices lower.
Yeah. Just get going on nuclear, Dan. Eh?
Well, that's one of the things, as you know, Pete, I've been looking at very closely, and if we can do it sensibly down the track, why wouldn't you look at it?
All right. Dan Tehan, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.